Hey everyone, this is Quentin Figueroa with Slayerment.com, and I wanted to talk to you about how stupidity is profitable. So the vast majority of people aren't too bright in the world, and as the famous comedian George Carlin puts it, think of how stupid the average person is and realize half of them are stupider than that. And when it comes to life and business, that's pretty much what you're dealing with. So when you're a business, you have to make money, obviously, and you have to cater to people that are going to pay your bills. And if the vast majority of people are stupid, you're going to have to cater to stupid people, and you're going to have to kind of do what they want, because if you cater to smart people, you're going to have a much smaller business and you're not going to make as much money. You know, the big companies, the Apples, the Googles, the Coca-Colas, all these businesses need to cater to the average person, right? Because the average person you're going to have a much bigger audience, and those are the people that are going to pay the money. So you have to cater to them, and in doing so, you have to give them what they want. And you have to kind of, you have to bend towards the average, towards the mean. You can't really bend towards necessarily something that's intelligent or honesty or truth all the time. You have to bend towards whatever the truths that the majority of the people believe are. And that's what we see all the time with businesses. So if we look at a few examples, you can kind of see what's going on here. An interesting one is Deflategate, right? So this was a big thing like a year or two ago with Tom Brady and the Patriots and them deflating footballs and all that kind of thing. So the NFL, of course, is a business and they need to make money, and they have an audience of people that they need to keep happy. They don't want to piss everyone off. So the Patriots are obviously a really good team. They just won another Super Bowl. They always win. They're always in the top playoff teams. They're just really good. And because of this, it makes them an easy target for other people to want to attack them. I kind of talked about this in previous videos. It's a price you pay for being better. When you're better at something, the lesser is always going to attack you and kind of try to pull you down. And this is exactly what's happening with the Patriots. They're winning all the time, so people are going to look for ways to bring them down and for ways to kind of come up with an excuse on why they are winning or why another team might be losing. Because teams cheat all the time in the NFL and in sports. Like, cheating happens a lot. It's not something new. And even after, supposedly, if the Patriots were cheating, they're still winning, so the cheating doesn't really make a difference. They're still going to win. They just won again. It's like the cheating doesn't give them an advantage. They're still winning. And if a team that sucks, like the Cleveland Browns, were to cheat, nobody would care. Nobody would notice because they're losing anyway, and who cares? So it's not that people are mad about cheating. They're mad about teams winning, and they're looking for ways to kind of attack them. But anyway, so the whole Deflategate thing, the NFL has to keep people happy. And if the average view is that this is what's going on and that something needs to be done about it, the NFL is going to have to do something about it, and so that's what they do. They are keeping the average person happy, and they need to do that in order to be profitable. So the NFL is not necessarily doing what the best decision or the smart decision is. They're doing the decision that the majority of the people are going to support. And that is why with Deflategate you saw this type of thing happening. And it's quite interesting to look at. Now, if we move on to kind of the media, we can see the same type of thing going on. If we look at Twitter, for instance, there was a recent debacle with Milo Yiannopoulos and Leslie Jones, right? The Ghostbusters actress. And they were going at it on Twitter. And it didn't end well for Milo because the average person does not hold the views that Milo holds. So Twitter, sees this dispute happening. It sees a lot of people upset. And of course, they're about free speech and that kind of thing. But they're also about serving their customers and keeping their customers happy. And if their customers aren't happy about a certain guy, it's more beneficial for Twitter as a business to get rid of this guy than to allow free speech. They have to keep majority of people happy. And in doing so, they have to get rid of these people that are kind of more fringe, people that the majority of people don't hold views on. They'd much rather cater to a Kim Kardashian or a Katy Perry or a Justin Bieber than they would a Milo Yiannopoulos or people in the alternative media that might have views that disrupt the bill-paying people, the average people, the vast majority of people. So of course they got to get rid of Milo, and they have to hold this view. And yeah, it might not be the best business move in the long run, and it might actually hurt them in the long run. Who knows? We'll see. And you could kind of explore this if you look at the mainstream media, because this is kind of the view that the mainstream media takes to a much further degree than the online media, because the mainstream media is much more controlled and they have a kind of a different audience. So the internet audience, generally younger, generally kind of more open to different ideas and opposing ideas and more liberal and this kind of thing. And then you have kind of the mainstream media, which is going to be an older audience. It's going to be people less savvy with the internet, people that kind of have more perhaps conservative, not necessarily conservative, just kind of more like strict views, right? So they're kind of more set in their ways, not as open to new ideas. And so what you're seeing is actually what could be happening right now with Twitter banning people. You're seeing that happening already with the mainstream media. So the mainstream media is basically kind of creating news that, well, for a long time they've been doing it, right? They kind of create a narrative and trying to force it on people. And they might say like Russia's hacking the election or whatever, tons of stuff. And the people now don't always have to go off what the TV news says. They can go verify it on the internet and look it up and see like, these guys are kind of full of crap. I don't trust you guys at all. And it actually is now hurting the mainstream media, and people are moving to other platforms that are more open, that have kind of more discourse, that have more truth and honesty, more information, facts, data, all this stuff. People are leaving to go there. And that's why they're heading over to alternative places in the internet and YouTube, Twitter, places like that. And then so Twitter now doing kind of what the mainstream media does to Milo could be the type of thing to where now they might slowly at some point later down the road have an exodus also, because you have to, okay, so you have to hit the average. And the average 10 years ago is different than the average now. The average, as far as news has gone, has kind of bumped up a little bit, in a good way, I think. People are generally not as trusting with news. They generally look for kind of more sources, and they kind of investigate a little bit further. And so the average got bumped up a little bit, and that's why the mainstream media no longer hits the average. They're hitting kind of the below average, and it's not working anymore. Their business is kind of starting to fail, and they gotta adapt if they want to continue on. And you kind of have the average now that's more on the internet, and that's kind of a little bit more discerning of information and what's going on. So yeah, you got to count to that. But then when you're above the average, like say Milo, you're now no longer profitable, right? You're too extreme. You're too you're too above average. You're no longer profitable, because the people that follow you are taking away from the majority of the people that pay the bills, and that now becomes a problem. So the businesses, media especially, is going to cater to the average, and they're going to cater to what makes the most money and what people want. I mean, that's what people want. So why would you not give people what they want, right? So they're giving people what they want. This is what majority of people want, so they're getting it. And Twitter's going to do what people want. That's any business. They're going to do kind of what people want. So that's kind of what's going on with the media stuff. And you see in the financial industry that stupidity is quite profitable, because anybody who's smart isn't going to go to a financial advisor for financial advice. You're not going to go to some salaried employee that makes like 60, maybe 100 grand a year to give you advice on how to make millions off your money. You already know how to make money. You're going to freaking figure it out yourself. You're going to talk to other smart businessmen and people, your team, and you're going to know where to render your resources. You don't need a financial planner. Financial planners are for average people. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm just saying it's a profitable thing. And since the majority of people are stupid, or at least not super intelligent, they're going to go to financial planners. And then financial planners are going to tell them what to do. And in general, that is going to be investing in mutual funds or some type of security that they're going to pool all their money in. They're going to pay a large amount in fees, and they're going to barely break even, if anything. They might make a little bit of money, but they're going to pay it all in fees. And it's just, it's what do you expect? What do you expect to happen? And it's funny, because if these financial advisors really were that good, they obviously wouldn't need your money. They would make money off their own money. But they don't make money off their own money because they don't know what to do with it. And instead, they just make money off your money by just taking it from you to collect fees, right? So that's how that works. And it's funny because it's gotten to the point now where it's so bad that they actually use the government to force you to put your money into stocks and mutual funds and that kind of thing through 401ks. So now they actually use the government to force people to put their money into the stock market, which is great for the whole financial industry and everybody. And that is what's going on with that. And it's quite crazy to me. But for majority of people, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because they're going to blow their money anyway. So you might as well just save some of it in a 401k. But a smart person is never going to put their money in a 401k or use a 401k as their main vehicle for making money, right? That's not their retirement fund. That's not what smart people do, right? But it's profitable to do that, and to have stupid people do that for you. And that's what the financial industry does. Okay, so then we have marketing. And marketing, of course, caters to stupid people. Not all the time, and there's ways to market differently to different audiences, of course, but in general, marketing works better on stupid people, and it's generally smart people that are doing the marketing, right? It's not stupid people marketing. They don't run businesses and market to people. Smart people run businesses and market to average people and that kind of thing. So yeah, marketing works better on stupid people, and because of that, it's profitable, right? Because you have to make money somehow by marketing, and you're going to go to where most of the money is. You're going to market to those people, and the majority of people are stupid. That's where you're going to be most profitable. So of course, that's why you have emotional commercials. You have things pulling at people's heartstrings and making them feel like they need to be part of a group, or kind of all these non-rational things that marketers do that work because you're dealing with non-rational people. For the most part, that's pretty obvious. Of course, you have religion itself, which basically invented the business of, catering to dumb people and profiting off of them. That's pretty much what religion has been doing for a long time. I'm not saying religion's bad. I'm not saying there's no value in religion, because there is a lot of value in religion, and there are a lot of good things that it can teach people and help people with. So I'm not saying it's completely bad, right? But there's obvious aspects of religion that are taking advantage of people and making money off of them and keeping them stupid and this type of thing. And it's kind of funny. But religion's good for the people that it's good for, which is the average person. It's helping them. And that is kind of something that they need. And they are getting value out of it. And it's funny because if the religion were to actually teach kind of straight truth or like more hardcore spirituality, then it would lose their audience, right? So if religion were to come out and say that we are all infinite energy and we are all gods, we all have this kind of power, that would totally scare a lot of people. It would upset a lot of people. It would totally shatter their belief system. And they would, not only would they leave, but they would attack you and go against you and call you satanic or whatever, right? So that's what people would do. So they kind of have to work around with their audience, and they have to kind of dumb it down and speak in the language that their audience can comprehend. They can't give them the hardcore stuff. And of course the Bible and spiritual books talk about this. They talk about children needing milk, and then the adults being able to eat meat. And most religious people, being kind of more so average, they need the milk. You can't give them the heavy stuff. They can't digest it. It's gonna just totally upset them, and even Jesus has quotes saying the very things I'm talking about, yet since people don't read the Bible, they don't know that, and they don't care, and it's just whatever, right? So like, look at this. So in John 10:34, Jesus answered them, "Is it not written in your law, I said ye are gods?" And this is him quoting the Old Testament earlier. I think it's in Psalm, where it's talking about people being gods, right? So this is already Jesus saying, are you not gods? Because Jesus isn't an idiot. He gets it, but he's explaining it to people and they don't get it, right? Which is why they start religions rather than live spiritually. And then here's another one, another fun one from Jesus, John 14:12. "Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I shall do, that I do shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father." Now, this is a cool quote where Jesus is saying, you can do all the things I can do, and then greater. This is, the religious God saying that you can do better things than me, right? So you have this freaking spiritual master telling people that they have just as much power. They can do what he's doing. He is using kind of this life energy. He's using the universe, and he's using like spiritual truths to live this awesome life. And anybody can do that, right? Anybody can become like him and do that, but people don't think that's possible because they just don't get it. They think that he's a god and they can't be him, and they just don't understand it. And that's religion, and that is people. That is the average person, not being able to handle harder stuff. The church knows this, so they give them what the people want, right? The people want this, baby steps, and they want that stuff, and that's most profitable. They're going to give you donations if you tell them what they want to hear. But as soon as you start talking about stuff that Jesus actually said, whoa, slow down. That's getting a little too crazy. Right? Who's this Jesus guy, and what is he even talking about? I don't want some Jesus, I want some Christianity. This is getting too crazy for me. So yeah, so then with religion you have people kind of fighting all day long, right? Because anybody who's studied religion and this, history, any of this kind of stuff, all religions are basically kind of saying the same thing, right? They're kind of teaching you how to live a good life. They're talking about God, they're talking about why we're here, they're talking about afterlife, they're talking about things like this. But then you kind of get people that can't see this or don't care to, or they want to be part of their group or whatever, and then they start attacking each other, and they start attacking on differences. They start finding these differences, and they don't understand kind of the big picture and this kind of thing. And the churches do well to do that too. The churches do well to perpetuate that, because then all these people remain part of their groups. They never figure it out, and they keep supporting them and paying them money and this kind of thing, and that's what happens. And you have the great Manly P. Hall, who says, "It is not what we name the deity, but how we live according to its principles that becomes the vital and important factor." But unfortunately for most religious people, it's the exact opposite. They don't want to live spiritually or religiously or a good life based on principles or good sound philosophy. They want to argue about it. They want to be told what the church tells them to do. They want to hear things. They want to hear how bad they are. They want to hear all these things that aren't actually helping them. They want to argue. They don't want to put it together. They don't want to change themselves, right? They want to just have this idea floating around them that's never used or put into action. And that's what they do. And then they infight, and they, whatever. We've had this going on for millennia, right? And of course, you shouldn't listen to Manly P. Hall because he's a Freemason, and Freemasons are bad, even though Christianity is built off Freemasonry. But I guess you didn't learn that in Sunday school, but that's okay. Let's go on to government. So government, of course, is the Mac Daddy of being built off of stupidity. And government might be a little bit different. So it's similar to, I guess, religion in a way. And it's a little bit different than business in that not only does it cater to stupid people, but it, in a way, creates stupid people too. And that's, it's kind of in the business to do that. It doesn't fully create stupid people. If people weren't stupid, you wouldn't have the government doing what it does. So it is stupid people that keep it going, but the government feeds the stupidity and wants to keep people stupid for sure. Same with religion and lots of things. And it's interesting because we hear about democracy, right? Democracy this, democracy that. Democracy is the average, right? It's the mean. That is what democracy is. It's the majority rule, right? Democracy. And it's funny because America is not a democracy. It was never founded as a democracy. The founders did not like democracy because the founders were not average. They were above average. They were smart. They got it, right? So they knew that democracy was not a good way to go. But of course, they also knew that the people, would eventually try to turn it into a democracy or whatever they could to alter, kind of this more hardcore original society that was started. So, yeah, you have democracy now, even though it shouldn't be a democracy, but it kind of is, right? Because we kind of do things that way now, or at least we think that's how it should be done, which is the average ruling. And it's funny because that makes it super profitable for government now, because the average person is stupid. They have money, and you're going to get it from them, right? So the average person goes out, they do their menial job, they make their paycheck, and then they render it to you, the smart person, because that's what they do. That's what they're marketed to do. That's what businesses tell them to do. That's what government tells them to do. Religion tells them to do. All these things train them to do that. They're going to do what everyone else does also. If other people are doing that, they're going to do it. So government knows this, and they totally exploit this, right? They super exploit it. And you have things like, so you have kind of things that people think are problems that they start to kind of start talking about and spread. And sometimes the government starts them and spreads them, and the people latch onto it because it sounds good to them, and it, you know, it's marketing again. It catches on to kind of an emotional string that hits somebody, and they're like, oh yeah, that's true. I'm gonna hold on to that, you know, and it works. So, for instance, women in the workplace, or women that are getting paid less than men, and this type of thing. Total BS. Anybody who researches it for 5 minutes, you can totally find it's BS. The way that they do the data and pull in those numbers, and they're not even comparing apples to apples. It's total BS. I have a video talking about it. But this hits on the emotional heartstrings of less intelligent people, and they go, oh wow, yeah, okay, well then what do we need to do about that? Of course, you need to, you know, render resources. You need to keep these politicians in power that spread this, right? So if that's what people now want, and they want to hear that, and they want to try to change something and, you know, help these women who aren't getting paid as much, they're going to support the politicians that do support that. Same thing with everything. Minimum wage, right? Minimum wage hurts poor people. I have a video talking about that. But to people, if they don't understand it, or they're not able to kind of fully look at it, if they're not as intelligent, or they're just kind of going off kind of what they're told, they're going to think that minimum wage is a good thing for poor people, and they're going to support politicians that want to do the minimum wage, right? And it's like this with so many things. You know, everything is just sales, marketing, rebranding, and manipulation. And the average person, unable to synthesize this and dig through it, they appreciate it, they feel good about it, and they do what they can to support the person telling them what they want to hear, right? And it's totally profitable for the government to continue feeding this to people, because the people love it and they're eating it up. So yeah, that's what the government's going to do. That's what religion's going to do. That's what all these institutions and businesses are going to do. It's all the same thing. It's stupidity being profitable. It's smart people being able to manipulate less smart people. And it's not always manipulation. Sometimes it's just that is what the average or dumb people want. And it's not necessarily bad to give somebody that, and eventually at some point maybe they will be smarter and they'll understand that, oh yeah, I was dumb back then. I was kind of stupid. And they learn their lesson and they grow. And it's part of growth. This is part of evolution, life, whatever. It's not all bad. But yeah, some people, there is some bad to it, obviously. And some people are jackasses that take advantage of other people. But it varies. And you have it to where not every business is going to do, not every business is going to cater to the average and is going to try to be, you know, a dick like that. And there are opportunities to cater to kind of, so it's like a bell curve, right? And in the middle of the bell curve, you have the average person, and that is where majority of the action's happening, right? That is where the majority of the money is, and that's a good place to start. That's a good place to make money. But it's also really competitive. It's really cutthroat. There's a lot going on there. But that's where you have kind of the Apples, the Googles, the Twitters, the mainstream medias, the religion, all these institutions are focusing on that, and it works well and it's good. But then you also have kind of these you know, as at the ends of the bell curve, where you kind of get the more dumb and the more smart, right? And those are also opportunities, and those are audiences that still need to be serviced, and in a lot of ways they are, right? And so you have kind of, you know, different groups that might service more of the smart people, and they might do really well, and that might be a great business. But it's never going to be as big of a business as the whole middle of the bell curve, where you're focusing on the stupidity, right? And so what happens too is you might have something like, say, Twitter. A lot of media companies, they start out kind of more, so Twitter started out more free speech. It started out with more of a technical crowd audience, this kind of thing. So they're generally a little bit smarter. But then when it starts to want to get a broader audience, of course, when it gets a broader audience, it's now going to have to cater to them, and it's going to have to dumb it down. It's just going to have to. The dumb people are no longer going to want kind of more of a free speech type scenario. They're going to want to a little bit kind of monitor the speech that's going on, which you see in the case of Milo and other people that have been banned. And this happens in any business. You know, if you start kind of in a more niche, kind of smart area, and you want to get bigger, you're going to have to start to dumb it down. You know, even religions, you might start as kind of some very like esoteric and more niche religion that hits kind of more hardcore stuff. But when you need to hit a bigger audience, you're going to have to kind of dumb it down a little bit. You see this with YouTubers. They start out kind of more hardcore, but when they got to hit a bigger audience, you kind of got to adjust a little bit and dumb it down, or at least speak the language of the normal person. It's just kind of the way it is. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I am recognizing it, and I am saying that stupidity is profitable because the average person's stupid, and that's where the money is. And that is what we see in life, business, all aspects of it, and especially government. So I wanted to share that with you and get that swirling around in your head a little bit and get your thoughts on it. And yeah, thank you very much for listening, everyone, and have a spectacular day.